Greetings, welcome again, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Um, I want to get into this video and speak about narcissistic stalker mindsets, why they're prevalent, why they're out here in the first place. I get a lot of people have asked about the gang stalking and narcissist stalking and these type of things, so we're going to speak on it. Oftentimes, we see many that have dealt with individuals that are extremely invested in others, where it becomes an obsession leading to stalking. And this this can easily happen, especially if the individual becomes fixated on a specific person. All right. And we see where people are stalking and we don't know why. Right. And there's some underlining things that I'm going to get into later in the video that is going to give you an indication of where the stalking mindset actually comes from case study or whatnot. But within the mind of the individual that is stalking, at some point they have made it a point to prioritize things that are unimportantly applicable to themselves in any way, shape, or form. Meaning that they have deeply invested and taken the time to put themselves in the position to be fixated on something that usually doesn't have anything to do with them or is out of the scope of range in which they should be concerned with. In the mind of the stalker, these traits start to develop specific justifications to carrying on with such toxic behaviors. Okay. They will, they'll go into, they'll start to come up with reasons that are pretty much invalid as to why they are doing what they're doing in their minds. Okay, and this is a big part where we look at part of this being psychosis within these individuals. And make no mistake about it, stalkers are mentally disordered. They are mentally disturbed people in some sort of way. Okay? Just as, just as it is with, individuals that come up with, these ideas in their mind and they form a reason for why they do what they do. This is the same thing with stalkers. And stalkers do not recognize that they have a problem either. They don't recognize that they have a problem. Just as narcissists and other cluster B disorders don't realize that they have a problem either. Right? And this is the same thing with narcissistic stalkers. You'll see them going at it with such, just rigor, but like almost like they're possessed. It makes no sense, especially for things that's not benefiting them or helping them to excel or progress in their own lives, to invest so much time in something else outside of them that serves no purpose in their well-being. How does stalking play itself out, or how does it look? Well, first, there develops an unhealthy fixation on a subject or an individual, which turns into a toxic obsession where the narcissistic stalker tries to align themselves with as many secondary connections of that person that they are targeting, meaning they try to be everywhere where that target or person is, or where they may have an interest in. Especially, typically, we see this in social media things. A stalker, they almost cannot rest. And this is where you see a lot of these individuals that will subscribe to even the thing that they're fixated on. They'll subscribe to it. They need to be always in the loop because the mental illness is drawing them to that. Okay? These individuals have pretty much a lot of the traits of cluster B personality disorders. And a lot of the behavior of this stems from fixation. And according to, psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, where children develop a series of psychosexual stages during their ID, I guess, developmentation. And this becomes a focal point on different areas of the body, which, if they're not properly developed, will end up leading to these type of personalities once they become adults. Now, we have to keep in mind that stalkers usually operate behind the scenes, in the shadows. They like to remain hidden, and this is the covert side of a stalker. It's no different than a covert narcissist. This is the covert side of the stalker. And this is, when I speak of covert, I mean in remaining hidden while doing mischievous things. Okay, which I believe they can be both covert and overt as well, and I stand by that even with narcissists, because at some points the stalker does leave intentional hints that they are stalking you. That's the overt side of it. And again, like I said, they'll leave small hints to the target to show them that, hey, I'm around, I'm here. And there's an estimated 12 to 16% of women and 4 to 7% of men that will be stalked at some point in their lifetime. So don't think that you're immune or that you won't be stalked by one of these these deranged type individuals. It will happen at some point. According to Dr. Holmes, professor of criminology, there are 7 types of stalkers. Okay? And the first is the domestic stalker, which the stalking of a former spouse or relationship partner. This is most common and prevalent. This is one of the most common and prevalent forms of stalking, where the person can't let go. They don't want to leave it alone, right? And then they're still spying, looking, stalking that person. The second one is the lust stalker, which is, where a lot of serial predators come out of. They stalk their victims, and these are where usually the rapists, Ted Bundy, etc., comes into play from these lust serial stalkers. Then we have the third one, as he has listed, as the love scorned stalker, where this is a former an acquaintance, a co-worker, a neighbor who desires an intimate relationship with that person but was not successful, and they are scorned, they're mad, they still are, they can't find a way to let go. This, again, that fixation on a person. Then we have the celebrity stalkers, people who stalk celebrities, get fixated on them, obsessed with celebrities. Then we have the political stalkers, is what he has enlisted, people who are motivated by political beliefs. Then he has the hit stalker, people who are out stalking someone to take them out. The revenge stalking, which is an aggrieved partner who feels slighted, or that they were done wrong and they can't let go. They're resentful and they become vindictive and they stalk. This is where you get a lot of the serial stalkers developing. A lot of people who they're not able to move on in a healthy manner, and so they kind of stay around. They're stuck in limbo, right? They're stuck and they won't go anywhere. And you have to understand, people take this in society as lightweight, although they have made stalking is a crime, because it is a very serious thing. I mean, you're dealing with very deranged, sick individuals. And there's no specific profile to predict who will likely become a stalker, but there is some research that has shown some consistent patterns within the United States, at least, or within our population in the United States, of stalkers and what they found, most likely to fit the typical stalker. And it was pretty interesting. And they showed that, according to the research, unemployed or underemployed people are usually found to be stalkers. And these are people who have too much time on their hands. Usually they're unproductive or not accomplishing anything meaningful for themselves. Right? This is where they get all this time to be able to actually invest in something outside of them that is not benefiting them in any way. Another research another study found that late 30s to 40s, where most of these individuals don't have a life of their own, okay? They're not doing anything, again, productive. They're not living in their purpose. And their life is not meaningful. It's not satisfying to them. And a lot of setbacks and disappointments have happened in the early part of their lives. And now that they are out of their prime, they're full of resentment, bitterness, and regret. And so they channel that energy and that unrest onto other things that they despise. Nothing else better to do. They're not working on themselves. And that's a common thing that you find with stalkers. If they were working on themselves and putting that energy and interest and time into their lives and their selves, they would not be stalking. Okay? To sum it up, they're pretty much failures. Another one was oftentimes they found that the very delusional, people that are very delusional, are stalkers. They're motivated to stalking by some sort of faulty belief system in their minds that they've came up with, or something that they've heard from somewhere else. And then they form this crazy ideology in their minds, and then their campaign of stalking begins. It's important to note that in one clinical study, personality disorders were oftentimes present in more than half of the stalkers evaluated. Something to really think about. Most of the findings came out to show that they were narcissistic, borderline, histrionic, and antisocial. Now, why is this important? Because it's showing that when we talk about, especially within this community, narcissists and how narcissists thrive and are operating, certain behaviors, I don't care if they're serving in a different capacity, certain behaviors always lead back to a certain kind of mental disorder. I'll say that again. Certain behaviors, such as stalking, lead back or can be traced back to a mental disorder. And that goes for anything where someone's investing their time, interest excessively outside of themselves, where they should be utilizing that to be fixated on themselves and being productive and living in their own purpose. When this doesn't happen, you have the formation of a sick, twisted individual who is disordered, who will be out remotely doing the same things as most of you have encountered personally with narcissistic individuals. This is just a remote type of alternative. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this video. Subscribe, hit the like button, and you can get any of my products. I like to really recommend my anti-narcissist awareness training e-course. For anyone that's new to this information, it has everything in there from A to Z on understanding narcissism and tactics to help yourself guard yourself against it. Also have the Quiet Weapons for Silent Wars Against Narcissists tour, which was filmed in New York live at that time. But those are good things to start off with. But just be mindful, everyone. These type of behaviors should not be accepted in any way. These behaviors of stalking is an act of aggression, and it's not to be taken lightly. All right. That's all I have to say for this video. Till next time, everyone, take care of yourselves. Have a good one.